the Chicago Bears have already started the cut period, making two what could be costly cuts to the Chicago Bears, but they make sense. We're going to talk about that. Other players that are on the bubble, and isn't veteran offensive lineman coming for the Chicago Bears? We're going to talk about all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the content for today. And first up, we got the Chicago Bears made their first two cuts of this period last night, cutting both PJ Walker, quarterback PJ Walker, and offensive lineman Alex Leatherwood. Now, Bobby and Steve-O have already done a live stream based off these cuts, which you guys showed out for. So, if you want to kind of details and their thoughts on that, make sure you guys go check that out. I'm going to briefly touch on it here. But these are two cuts that are going to be costly for the Chicago Bears. PJ Walker was already given a guaranteed $2 million. So that, of course, affects that value there. But then when it comes to Alex Leatherwood, the Bears are still going to owe him $4.6 million in guaranteed salary, even with them cutting him. And so, that could become, it just says a lot about where the Bears felt that both these players were, and the fact that they could not contribute to the team, that guaranteed money did not even factor in. Now, I personally think that's a good job. That's when you look at Ryan Poles and the way that he runs the team, and I've always said this, it comes down to value. That's what the name of the game is with Ryan Poles. And while both these players had guaranteed money on the books, if they're not going to be able to provide value for you on the field, Ryan Poles is not going to allow that to keep you on the team. And so it really sets the point and the precedence that with this Chicago Bears team and this version of the Chicago Bears front office, it all comes down to what you're able to give on the football field. And that's something that I know many Bears fans are going to respect regardless. For a long time, the way that the Bears were kind of operated, the money played a huge factor in it. And I would go so far as to say, if Ryan Pace was still running this team, I think that both these players would still be on the roster had he even acquired them. And the Alex Leatherwood experiment is one that, I still think that Alex Leatherwood looked good in certain scenarios. I'm not going to say he's a perfect player. I'm not even going to say that I'm upset that he's cut. It is a little bit surprising, especially considering the depth that we've talked about already that we need at that offensive lineman position. In area, considering the injuries that we've had there, considering that Tevin Jenkins seems to always have a nagging injury or lingering injury over the course of the season as well. But when it comes down to it, hey, Ryan Poles made the best decision he feels that he needed to make for this team. They had over 30-something players that they needed to cut, and PJ Walker, he got outplayed by an undrafted rookie. And so it looks like Tyson Bagent is probably going to be that quarterback too. And again, with value. Ryan Poles is looking at that value, and he maybe have done it again and getting a quality player as an undrafted rookie. And so, I for one, I'm looking at all this and I'm saying, hey, good job, well done, Ryan Poles, to remove those players. If you didn't see them factoring into your success, is to remove them. I could say all day that Alex Leatherwood showed me some flashes. Listen, I'm sitting here in my studio talking about football. They run the team day in and day out. And so, they made the decisions. Those are the first two cuts that the Chicago Bears have made in this roster. They still have a number of players that they need to cut. And so that has naturally gone down to who else is on the bubble for the Chicago Bears team. And just some kind of notable names in the sense that of specific things around them. Treston Ebner, I think, is not long for the Chicago Bears. I get it. He was a draft pick of a year ago. He won awards in college for special teams, but I do think he's on his way out. Kellen Diesch, as well, as another offensive lineman that I looked at and said, hey, he showed some things. Even, Pro Football Focus graded him pretty high, but he could potentially be on his way out as well. Dieter Easelin, I think is how you pronounce his name. Questions around him. I like Dieter, and I think, practice squad probably when it comes to him, but he's another name that you could definitely hear as far as one of the players that are cut. And it comes down to questions around certain players. Isaiah Ford, Derice Fontaine, right? Which one of those guys, if any, do you hold on to? Does placing Dante Pettis on the injury reserve list also mean that you're going to probably carry an additional wide receiver for a little while on that roster that maybe you cut later when Pettis is available, right? So some things like that. But, of course, the names like Travis Gibson is around there, but, hopefully he's able to find a trade. The Bears can get some assets back for that. But there are a number of players that are absolutely on the bubble. And so, we'll see. D'Anthony Jones, defensive end, is another one there as well. Doug Kramer. What do they do with Doug Kramer, right? again, I don't know if I'm going to necessarily expect a lot of cuts on that offensive line just because of the depth that we need there. But cutting Alex Leatherwood really does, it's eye-opening to say that anybody can go. And so I'm sure they're going to do an evaluation period. Him and Matt Eberflus are going to sit down, go over things. They're going to probably look at a lot of tape. I'm sure Matt Eberflus already has his deals on a couple of players. But it's going to be interesting next couple of days in Chicagoland. And so, expect a lot of bonus episodes, a lot of emergency episodes as well. But, it comes down to this. We now have a coaching staff and a front office that are in, they're synergized in the sense that that they're in sync, I guess is a better way to say it. But like they're in sync in the fact that it's all performance based, right? They look at everything. They come in and you're not based off draft position. You're not based on how much you're a veteran. It's based off what they feel they can get out of you. And so having a team that's completely performance based, that's completely based on what you're able to give us, if you're able to give us what we need, is something that I, for one, it's a revelation. It feels pretty good to be able to have that on the Chicago Bears team that we had a lot of questions around for a long time, man. A lot of questions around. So, there a lot of the players also that the Chicago Bears picked up on the waiver wire. I think a lot of those guys are going to go. I've already talked about Bravion Roy. I think he's going to be out of there. Steenberg, I think, may be out of there as well. Greg Stroman Jr., I think, is another player that could be out of there. So, we'll see. We'll see. Dylan Cole, I think, is another player. Kendall Fedor, I think, is going to be another one out there. Barrington Wade. So these are all players that haven't really shown a lot for the Chicago Bears in preseason, even though there were some flashes in training camp. But it's gonna be an interesting time. And so, Tyson Bagent moving in and just, wowing and playing the way that he's played and performed. I think that wrote we all knew the story was being written on PJ Walker, who just did not look good in preseason. And like I said, I don't want to crap on anybody. Shout out to him for, PJ Walker may get on with another team, go back to the XFL, whatever it ends up being. But, he got outplayed by an undrafted rookie. And for that matter, Peterman as well outplayed him, I think, consistently as well. So, we'll see. One of the biggest question marks around the Bears still, and it's going to be until there's an answer, is what's going to happen with Trevis Gibson, right? What's going to happen with Gibson? And I know, he played extremely well in that first preseason game, but it was a lot of up and downness in the other games out of that. And I think, people took away from that first preseason game, and now that's kind of just stayed in the mindset of a lot of Bears fans. But Trevis Gibson hasn't looked amazing in the other two games other than that. Yes, he got a sack in the last game as well. And, he did have the trade request, but if that trade does not formalize, I completely expect Trevis Gibson to be on his way out as well. So on that cut wire. So, we ended up seeing, man, there's a lot of decisions that need to be made here in a little over 24 hours, right? The deadline is 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow on Tuesday. So a little over 24 hours in that case. And, the Bears are going to have to get to work, really talk, evaluate, and see what they have. There's going to be practices going on in that time as well. We already heard the rumors linking the Chicago Bears to like Chris Jones, which, as we talk more about the money, I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen, but there are two focuses for the Chicago Bears right now. Over the next 24 hours is cuts. After that is practice, getting healthy, who's going to be available week 1. And that brings us to the last topic that we have for today is really, will the Bears look at veteran offensive lineman depth coming into the season, right? We know that Tevin Jenkins is possibly, we won't know exactly till the 6th. That's when the Bears officially have to start following things with injuries. We'll know, what they expect for him and how long that timetable on his return is. But like, especially when you're cutting offensive linemen like Alex Leatherwood and other younger offensive linemen may be cut as well. As the Bears are looking for protection for Justin Fields going into the season, we could look at some veteran offensive lineman depth. Keep in mind, the Bears are going to be first on the waiver wire because they had the worst record in the NFL last season. So because of that, the Bears are in a prime position to cut a lot of talent, right? And then if any surprising talent, whether it be because of, cap hits or anything like that, gets cut from other teams, the Bears are in a really great position to go out and acquire those guys. So, it's going to be a pretty active period for the Chicago Bears between now and the start of the season. And so I know that's not usually expected, but it could be, right? The cuts are expected part, but we could see a number of additions made as well, which would have to bring about more cuts, right? But I think that the Bears are going to be evaluating and looking pretty active, not just for offensive lineman depth, but like anything that can help this team. That is what Ryan Poles has brought to the Chicago Bears team. It's constant evaluation, constant looking at how you can improve the team, what additions you need to make, and Matt Eberflus, what changes need to be made to the lineup. We're really in an evaluation period for the Chicago Bears right now, and it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one to cover. It's going to be fun to bring news to you guys. I'm already expecting to be dropping multiple kind of emergency and update episodes over the course of the next 48 hours. So look out for that. There's going to be a lot of things and content coming from Chicago Bears Central. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well if you want to be notified the moment that we go live, the moment any episode drops, because listen, we're the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, and we try to get that news out to you as fast as we possibly can to evaluate, take a look at, and things like that. So whether it's me, Steve-O, Bobby, C-Dub, even Big Kev popping in on here a couple of times, you guys are going to be getting a lot of content over the next 48 hours. And so dig in, man. Let me know what you guys think. Who are some players that you think are on the bubble for the Chicago Bears to make the roster? Do you think that the Bears made the right decision as far as on Alex Leatherwood, PJ Walker? Were either one of those cuts surprising to any of you guys? Let us know all that down below. Want to hear from you guys. I'll also tell you guys how to get your thoughts in on the voicemail as well. But make sure you guys are following the channel at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag episodes or for anything, like just your thoughts on anything, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related because of you guys. And like we like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.